Now let's look at hash tables. So to explain this, I'm going to bring up an address space here, addressed 0 through 7. And for our implementation, this is actually going to be a list. So to demonstrate the hash table, I'm going to create a store, a hardware store, and we're going to have items and then the number of those items. So we'll have nails and nuts and bolts and things like that. So I'm going to first start by talking about the built-in hash table, which is dictionaries. So dictionaries are made up of a key value pair. So nails is the key and 1,000 is the value. So the way a hash table works is this. We're going to need a hash function or a hash method. And what we're going to do is perform a hash on the key. So we take that key, run it through the hash, and in addition to getting our key value pair back, we get an address. So we ran nails through a mathematical function and it returned the number 2. So that's going to be the address where we store that key value pair. And that is how a dictionary is stored. So now let's talk a little bit about the hash itself. There are 2 characteristics about it that are important. The first is that it is one way. So if we take nails, we run it through the hash, and we get the number 2, the thing that we cannot do is take the 2, put it through the hash, and have it produce nails. It is one way only. The other thing about a hash is that it is deterministic. And deterministic means that for a particular hash function, every time we put nails in, we expect to get the number 2 every time. That means it is deterministic. So this hash is going to embody these 2 characteristics. So even though Python includes a hash table, which is dictionaries, we're going to build our own. We'll create our own address space by creating a list, and then we'll create methods. So in this case, to set an item, we're going to have a key and a value. And to use the same key value pair as we did before, we'll say nails with a quantity of 1,000. We will create our own hash that we'll use to hash the key, and our key value pair is going to be a list, and the hash is going to produce an address. So at this address in our list, we will put this other list with nails and the quantity of 1,000 in that spot. So that will create a list within a list. And let's set another item here. We'll say screws. We'll run this, and we're going to get our key value pair and an address, and we'll store that. And let's say nuts with 1,200. And we're going to say that's at the address of 2. But we do have a problem here because we already have a key value pair at that address. We don't want to just overwrite that and replace it. So let's bring this back. We'll talk about how we're going to do this in an upcoming video, but we will be able to store both of these at this address. And let's just add one more here, bolts with a quantity of 1,400. We get an address, and we store that there. So now that we have these in place, we can do something like get items bolts. And we can run the hash on bolts. And because the hash is deterministic, we know the address where it is stored. We can go directly to this address and get the quantity of bolts. So let's put that back, and we'll run get item on nails. Same thing. Deterministic means that we know the address, and we come up here. And this one is a little bit more complicated. We have multiple key value pairs at that address. So we know we're going to have to create some kind of loop to go through those to get to the quantity. And that is our quick overview of hash tables.